want to I want to change so that we look like this when we go live. Hello, Hirsch.
Hello, Nancy.
So I'm excited because we're talking about Sell the Truth. And it's vaguely familiar to a book that's coming out next month called
Yes.
Selling the Truth.
Selling the Truth.
Boom. The
Yes.
Message Therapist.
Thank you, Nancy, the sales whisperer. As I was saying before before we went live, selling the truth obviously is a great bridge between our brains. Of what you do as a sales whisperer and what I do as a message therapist. And where I came up with the concept of selling the truth was that we only have what is real, what is our experience, what is our expertise, and what is our product. We only have those things to sell. So we might as well be genuine about how we present it to our audience. And a lot of people don't think about what they are selling so much as who they're selling to, in terms of how do I get this person to buy it? How do I get them to how do I please them? Even in the, not all of the book is about dishonesty versus honesty. It's different. I haven't put it this way, but honesty and truth are different creatures. Honesty is how we treat the truth, and truth exists whether we touch it or manipulate it or distribute it or not.
Right. I appreciate what you're saying. And, selling the truth, I'm going to go in a little bit of a soapbox. I know you won't mind. The soapbox has to do with the fact that I know you and I share a perspective that we dislike, disdain, maybe, have even stronger feelings about exaggerated marketing and sleazy sales tactics. And they are pervasive in the field where you and I make our living. And hence, there's so much pressure that perhaps we feel, or at least it's there. I don't know to what extent you and I are taking it on, but the pressure is there. And especially, I think, our ideal clients, they experience this pressure. They experience confusion in regards to what they should do. Because these exaggerated claims, the promotional neon lights blaring in your face, are very enticing for someone who is not yet found their traction and doesn't yet have their message dialed in, and lacks the sales tactics that allows them to sell with integrity.
Yeah, it can be a very tangled web. The process, we call it a continuum. You and I have kind of settled on this sales and messaging continuum, where you get your message straight. You understand who you are first and foremost, because who you are has to be where it begins. It has to begin inside.
That's the truth, right?
Yes.
The truth is who I am and what I bring to this moment. Right. All my experience, my education, my positives, my negatives, all of this is the truth that we start with. And then we go to identifying the message.
Right. So we learn our truth, or come to terms with it, or start to appreciate and embrace it. Then we can formulate a message. Then once we have a message, we have to start thinking, okay, well, who is the message for? And a lot of times people do what makes sense, market research, blah, blah, blah. But they think about who it's for in terms of who will buy their product, not in terms of who they would like to sell to. And so I think that can get a little lost, because we're so eager to monetize our product or our offerings or our service that we don't necessarily think, well, who would we like to work with? And obviously, if you're selling Pepsi or Coke, it doesn't necessarily matter so much in that or you might think it doesn't matter so much because you're not really interacting with that person if you're a corporate brand. Well, you kind of are. You're going to, in this day and age, hear a lot from the people you sell to. And I think Pepsi, as an example, and Coke have both realized that in recent years because they have heard from, both to their benefit and detriment, reactions to their stances, whether it's in terms of the changing the flavor of their soda or partnering with somebody. Budweiser experienced it with a trans partnership and then got all kinds of negative feedback. But brands recognize that they have to take a stand one way or another, and if they're going to believe something or believe in something, um, then they're going to get a reaction. And so it does matter who you do business with. If you're a service provider and you're working one-on-one or one-to-many, but you're working from yourself, then you really do want to pick and choose who you work with.
I have always felt, Hirsch, that when I am buying something, whether it's a commodity or even an intangible such as coaching or consulting, that I am supporting an economy. And whose economy am I supporting? And again, each economy is linked to values and linked to a message and linked to something that either again, because I'm consciously doing it, either something I support or don't support. And hence, I make choices about where I vote with my money. And
Yeah.
this is what brand is all about. Who are you voting for? And again, it starts, as you said, know thyself. Who am I bringing to the party? Who is this entity called Nancy Zare, sales whisperer? What does she stand for? Who am I? What do I bring? But again, I also bring it to someone. I'm not living in a vacuum. I'm living with others. And hence I have to be aware, who is the best recipient for what I offer.
Yeah. Yeah. And when we make those marriages, when we make that marriage between who we are, what we're selling, and to whom are we best suited to sell it, then we really have a continuum that is fulfilling, which I think in the end is what we all want. Everybody wants it to be fulfilling, by the way, from Coca-Cola and Pepsi to you and I, to Nancy Zare and Hirsch Repu. We want the audience that we're playing to be happy, because when they're happy, we're happy, and when they're happy, they're going to continue to buy from us, purchase our offerings, and whether it's books or whether it's courses or one-on-one consulting. We should take a minute even to mention our community, our Know and Sell Insiders community, which is created for a wider audience than our one-on-one or even workshop audience, but definitely is able to benefit from our shared knowledge, from our shared counsel. And so we're very excited about that, specifically because it opens our offerings up to people that we want to engage with, but who may not either be ready for the one-on-one investment, let's say, or the bigger investment, or may simply not have the need for the intensive engagement that we offer together and independently. So you can pick and choose without without thinking about everything in terms of the granular, by still thinking in terms of community.
Right. So sell the truth. Sell the truth to me is the exact opposite of all the spin that is being touted in the continuum, in our field. In fact, there's even a book, I remember reading it, called Spin Selling, or was it called Spin Marketing? I mean, the concept is there, right?
Yeah.
But somehow, when we approach And by the way, I heard an interesting definition. I'm going to share it with you and our audience right now about marketing versus selling. Marketing is to the large number, where selling is to an individual or
Okay.
corporation. All right. So there's which again explains that continuum, because it's the same activity. It's just the scale changes, right? At any rate, yeah. So, you know, what happens in the sales process or the marketing is that people are messaging in these, laudatory terms. I mean, the word amazing right now annoys me because it's overused, or phenomenal. It's like people's vocabulary have constricted to a few words, and they have forgotten the richness of what's really going on here. No, everything's just amazing. Well, it isn't necessarily.
Well,
And
what about authentic? Not to cut you off, but
this
but
is a
the,
word too.
what I had to say, authentic now has become an overused word. And what's funny about it is, what's the alternative? So, the inauthentic, authentic is the alternative. You
Authentic.
know,
I
um,
heard that one.
so getting real is a really great, and I think another thing that we're after with selling the truth is, get real, so that and it's not hard, because, as Mark Twain said, if you stick to the truth, you have less to remember.
Exactly. It's so funny you said that. That was exactly the quote that came to my mind too.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you lie, you have to remember what you said and to whom, etc. Did I quote them this price, or did I quote them a different price,
Right.
etc., etc. So, yeah,
Right.
but there is so much duplicity going on, so much, that clickbait or whatever, there are many words for it right now as we try to lure people into our,
Hmm.
funnel here, etc. There's a lot of noise out there, a lot of noise.
There's a lot of
But
noise.
guess what works? The truth. The truth. It cuts through the noise.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting, because I took a walk uh earlier this morning. Instead of going to the gym, I was like, I just feel like getting my head clear through just walking. And then I thought, oh, I haven't done a walking video in a while. I usually do these walking videos. And then I was like, well, I don't feel like talking. So I put the camera on myself, and I just filmed myself for 30 seconds or so walking and saying nothing. And there was a line of some kind that was germinating in there, which was, maybe I'll put the line, I'll post the video of just me walking in silence, and maybe I'll add at the end, sometimes it's better just to listen, you know, because that allows us to get real and and just, there's nothing inauthentic or simulated or contrived about just listening.
Nice, nicely said, nicely done. It's interesting. I too took a walk this morning. That's my habit as well. And I made a very conscious choice that there would be no earphones, there would be no
Right.
chair, there would be no, I would be to
Yeah.
be, right?
Funny. Yeah, that's exactly it. And I started with headphones, and I took them out, and I was like, there doesn't need to be any input at
No,
that time.
no.
There's input anyway, but let's just unplug a little bit. So,
And as I concluded my walk and I then started to project myself into the day and what was going to happen, the little voice said, "You need do nothing."
mm,
So, folks, we need to close up this session of No and Sell Pointers, but we'll be joining you next week. And if you haven't had enough, you can, of course, come to our community. You can reach out to us individually. We welcome that. We welcome your comments and feedback. And in the meantime, to your sales success, it's Nancy Zaire, Sales Whisperer, and
Hirsch Repun, the message therapist.